Enthusiastic introduction. Nick here, back again. It's been about a year since my last video. Had some stuff to catch up on, but glad to be back and very excited to show you the 250 by OhMyGod. Tell you what I like about it, tell you what I don't like about it coming up. So the reason I was drawn to this frame is not because of the sub 250 gram mark. I'm not too concerned about that, honestly. At least at this point, we'll see how things go, but it's because I normally fly micros. I don't like to lug around a ton of batteries and bags and all that stuff. So it's just nice to have a lightweight package. I can use my micro 4S batteries that I've used for some of my 3-inch and 4-inch builds on this one. This thing fits in my backpack. It's very light and small. So that's really the inspiration for checking out this frame. This build actually, with a 524S, comes out to about 251 grams, my particular build. But again, I'm not too concerned about the sub 250 gram mark. There's a lot of things you can do to get this much lighter than my current build, and I'll go over those in a little bit. So the parts I chose for this frame, I already had these Betaflight 2004 motors from a 4-inch build, so I swapped them over. I don't know, they fly really well. The motors work fine for me. There's probably better options out there, but I already had these. They work fine, so I'm down for that. Using the original DJI camera with the Caddx Vista, and this is the Betaflight 35 amp all-in-one board, which I actually don't like, and I'm going to be swapping it out for the iFlight Beast flight controller. Stock antenna, and I have Crossfire here as well. A little Crossfire antenna there. As far as batteries go, like I said, if you want to get this thing sub 250, you're going to have to try a battery around this size, most likely. But I'm not a fan of this battery. It's okay, but because I don't care about the total weight, my favorite options are 650 and 850. Believe it or not, it actually flies great. Even on the 850, it's quick, agile. It has a little more momentum, so it feels like a little bigger quad. You can fling it over objects and stuff like that. So I'm flying it on the 850, and I really like it. I think that's my go-to. You will be way over the 250 gram mark, though, if you want to go with an 850. If you're going with a smaller battery like this, you'll probably get about 3 minutes of flight. Something like this, you could get to 4.5 or 5. As far as the frame, the 250 frame, overall I do like the frame. I have some things I don't like about it, which I'll get to in a minute, but the frame design is cool. Obviously, it looks really nice. It's kind of flashy. Assembly was a little tricky, but Tommy has assembly instructions on his YouTube channel, so check that out. The frame came with these aluminum screws. However, I stripped 2 of my screws while assembling this, so these are quite poor quality, lightweight screws, and I get it. He was trying to include those to save weight, but they just ended up stripping, so I swapped in steel for almost all the other ones here. That does bring the weight up a little bit, but I can't imagine ever using the screws it came with, so that's one of the main drawbacks I'd see, but it's pretty easy to just swap in your steel screws. As far as flight goes, this thing flies great. Everything feels pretty rigid. I use the tune that Tommy provided on his build video. I love flying this thing around. I come from micros, as I mentioned, so this was a very easy transition for me. For folks who are flying traditional 5-inch builds, this will probably feel a little low on the flingability and momentum because it's so light, but for me it felt just like flying one of my 4-inch quads, so I was very into it, very easy to get into. Overall, I really do appreciate the design. A couple other issues though I have with the frame are serviceability is kind of a pain, because to pop off the top plate you also have to remove this camera cage. And the camera cage, I don't know why he had to make this choice, but the camera cage, each side is made up of 2 different pieces of carbon fiber. One is locked in horizontally and one is locked in vertically. And again, to take off the top plate, you have to take off the camera cage, which also means taking the camera out to loosen up the cage. And it's kind of annoying. I wish this was all just 2 pieces instead of 4. I'm not a frame designer, so I assume he did this for a reason, but I do wish serviceability was a little bit easier on this thing. As far as durability, I mean, that's the main thing that's going to take a hit when you start to drop weight on these frames. I've flown this for a few weeks now. I have broken one arm. It was pretty easy to replace. I definitely recommend, if you're buying this frame, buy extra arms. They don't come with extra arms. And I've had a total of like 3, I'd say, big crashes. Only one broken arm. I don't imagine there's much else to do to make this thing stronger, but keep it under 250 grams. For durability, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. Not perfect, but it's got very easily removable arms, 2 screws per arm, and you're good to go. And if you want to do your best to make this thing as light as possible, there's a lot of things you could do differently than I did. Again, I wasn't really concerned with weight all that much, but easy thing is swap a nano camera, nano DJI camera. There's a number of options for that. One thing I would recommend, I don't see a lot of people do this, but if you just use a linear antenna, a normal linear whip antenna, believe it or not, the reception remains really, really good. Somehow the DJI system doesn't really get too bothered if you use a linear antenna. The reception's still great. That'll save you probably 5 grams right there. And then I haven't seen anyone do this on the 2FIDDY, but you can also always turn your Vista into a naked Vista, save another, I don't know, 10 grams there. And with those 3 things done, plus maybe some titanium screws, I wonder if someone could get the weight down enough to then put a Insta360 or naked GoPro on here and still keep it under 250 grams. I think it's possible. I haven't seen anyone do it, but I would bet that it's possible. And maybe even ditching the receiver if you're using the DJI controller. And that's pretty much it for this review. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.